What's up, you guys? This is Rurouni K95 here. Once again, we're going to do a manga review. This is another one, because I've been reviewing any different manga series that I have been picking about, because I have my own little curiosity of how I ever want to come by it. Because today, we're going to do a manga review on another manga series I love to death, because this has been one of those manga series that have been bringing a special place in my heart for them. So we're going to be doing a manga review on Rurouni Kenshin Volume 1. This is the first time I want to do this. Because this is created by Nobuhiro Watsuki, who's the creator on Buso Renkin. So let's begin with the review on Rurouni Kenshin. So this happens about how many years ago in Kyoto? 140 years ago, with the coming of the black ships, there was a warrior named Hitokiri Batosai. Has basically a vet killing men with the blood-stained blade, which is how he closed on the turbulent Bakumatsu era, of how he has vanished when he became a wanderer, which opened the age known as the Meiji. This how it started it in the 11th year of the Meiji in Tokyo. When Kenshin Himura has wandered through it, he just encountered Kaoru Kamiya, when being mistaken for the name Hitokiri Batosai. But things just didn't go quite well of how this has gotten to. If she could have thought if he was the Hitokiri Batosai, and there was some danger happening along of the alert of these men, of the Japanese police have been killed by this big guy, Gohei Hiruma, who claims to be the Batosai, but he wasn't the Batosai. When he was almost about to kill Kaoru, Kenshin Himura had to save Kaoru from getting killed. This all happened in the 11th year of the Meiji, when Kenshin has been noticed about how she has started the Kamiya Kashin dojo in this particular part of the manga, as how this all has got to this. About her father survived the Bakumatsu revolution. Of how this has a lot to do for this as well, because this all has got to the curiosity of how it goes as well, especially for the manga like Rurouni Kenshin as well, because this all has got to be for this as well, despite of how they're working hard together, particularly as well, of how this all has got to this, of how by this time, of course, this all has got to the point as well, as things look to be going, for how Kaoru realized of how about how the property was going to be sold, and the paperwork was made up. This was before Gohei Hiruma and his henchmen arrived at this point, because they were of how this all has happened, because when she was about to just encounter this, because this all has got to this as well, to point out. And this is how it was before Kenshin Himura has defeated Gohei Hiruma's henchmen, as well as that he used the Hitamitsurugi Ryu when Gohei Hiruma was about to kill somebody, and then Kenshin Himura defeated him. Yeah, especially in this as well, because this all has got to this of how this happened at the dojo, particularly when he was about to wander off. But Kaoru has to determine that if he's supposed to be a wanderer, not the manslayer, especially if, particularly, despite that Gohei Hiruma was the fake Batosai in that one, because this all has gotten to the point now. Moments goes, as everything has been prompt of how when Kenshin and Kaoru arrived in the city of Japan as well, especially about the road to the police station about some misconsumer because of how the corrupted police have been mistaken about Kenshin carrying with a sword, but he uses the reverse blade sword as to protect the innocent, particularly. And yes, this carnage happened in this particular part of the manga as well. And at this point, of course, because this all has gotten to the point for how the Hitomitsu Ruby Ryu, how he used, particularly for whenever he has to defeat the corrupted policeman as well. For the whole point, when he was with Kaoru. At this time, of course, when they arrived, particularly at the bridge in Japan, they encountered a pickpocket named Yahiko, who's basically a pickpocket, always wanted to figure out a way, is particularly of how he basically has encountered ever since his family from the beginning, particularly. But these cruelty of these men, about Gasuke and his right-hand henchman has figured out a way of how they're forcing Yahiko to do things that he isn't supposed to. Particularly about somebody lived and died as a samurai, particularly. And at this point, as well as Kenshin arrive and he defeats all these other enemies in that one, particularly when he has particularly of how this the whole underestimated for what he determined for what Yahiko was been safe from danger in this part, particularly in that one as well. And at this point, of course, of how Yahiko has been trained under the Kamiya Kashin Ryu in the especially at Kaoru's dojo, of how this goes is particularly for how this the others have been realized about how that Yahiko's been skipping out, particularly in this one, because this all has got to the point out is, it's just basically for what they haven't realized as well, particularly for what these other henchmen have been causing like this on the trouble, like this is, okay, as you're wondering, in the volume of Rurouni Kenshin has a lot to do with this, of how the whole point out as well, particularly of how when Kenshin arrives, when he's noticed these enemies had that cannon, particularly, but when Kenshin Himura defeats the cannon, particularly was proved to hesitate to this stand of testimony when the Kamiya Kashin dojo was safe once again, because there's something wrong of how this has gotten to the point out. Meanwhile, a mercenary, a street fighter, or mercenary named Sanosuke has beaten up those bad guys who are standing in his way. Basically, he calls himself as a fight merchant. Particularly for when Kaoru and Yahiko has a lot when they arrived at a beef pot restaurant, the Sukiyaki place, for some lunch, and then they heard some commotion going on happen in the restaurant, at the beef pot restaurant, of how this commotion goes, of how it's provoking the trouble as well. But this how it was. It wasn't long until Sanosuke has put a stop to those troublemakers at the beef pot restaurant as well. Especially when they took it outside, to particularly of how he's determined to fight those troublemakers in that one, because this all has got to the point as well, and particularly how he has been figured out a way, because he's basically of how that Kenshin has got the modesty of how Sanosuke gave him much credit as well. And at this point, when Kenshin was figuring out a way of how Gohei Hiruma and his henchmen was forcing him to get rid of somebody, particularly of how what this has got to any curiosity of how he could have defeated the Batosai in that one, especially for what Hiruma, Kihei, and Gohei had a lot to do, which are the Hiruma brothers in the manga as well. More different than the anime as well, because if they had to figure out a way of how who could have ever to defeat the Batosai in this one, particularly, especially in the manga as well, because this all has got to the whole point out of the curiosity of how this goes as well. For when Kenshin Himura has realized of how what Sanosuke was up to something as well, if they could figure out a face-to-face battle in combat fight as well. Especially when Sanosuke wants to crush the Hitokiri of how the revolutionaries goes, particularly in this as well, because he would have figured out a way of how this all has happened, particularly. Once they stayed, to figure out a way of how when they challenged to the combat battle like this, particularly what we see what's going on in the manga as well. And at this point, because Sanosuke has the Zanbato, which is a giant-looking sword, which is almost as bigger than Kenshin Himura's Hito Mitsurugi, the reverse blade sword. That's how he challenges Kenshin to a battle, this in a whole combat like this as well. As this all has happened to the point out of this goes. So that's the basic plot in the first volume of Rurouni Kenshin. Because, however, in the end of volume special, the manga is a lot more different. This was never included in the anime as well, because especially it's a lot very more different, and this is a lot more common, because this has some moments in the end of volume special as well. As if it was, if they would have ever made this as an anime as well, but not exactly, because, well, either the original or the new one that just came out. But, however, I was talking about the manga particularly. However, this manga end of volume special has its moments on there, particularly, especially for the whole thing. This is a lot very interesting, especially for that as well, because there's some characters that were never included in the anime, such as the end of volume special Rurouni, which is the bonus story in that one, which is very more common, particularly, because I noticed that this has some moments, but overall it's a great special in the manga, because it's a lot very more different as well, because, however, for the characters, we all have introduced, like, Sanosuke, Kenshin Himura, Kaoru Kamiya, Yahiko in that one, because they were introduced of how they presented it in the manga, because this is very all new and interesting, because, come to think of it, if you want to talk about a manga like Rurouni Kenshin, because this is all interesting, because as well as the Gohei, as well as the Hiruma brothers, the Kihei and Gohei Hiruma. However, Kihei Hiruma is the brother of Gohei Hiruma in the manga as well, because was never included in the anime, but in the anime it's just only Gohei Hiruma in the manga. Well, in the anime, obviously, though, because, the big guy with the beard in that one. Especially because their character personalities, whether it's protagonists and antagonists, as well as minor characters, secondary characters in general, as well. the production is very good, and especially for the art style of what Nobuhiro Watsuki has did, because, you know, it's just basically of how he wanted to create a first manga, because he had the encouragement for how he has every standard testimony with how he's been influenced by video games and comics in general when he first created the Rurouni Kenshin manga as his first series as well. And it seems to be known for the fact for this as well, because this all has got to how whatever come by for the volumes on the manga like Rurouni Kenshin, because this is all interesting because this is very new for me. And I have seen the anime though, but I thought the manga is interesting because I have a feeling I'm going to start liking the manga more, because I have been barely rereading the manga though. And for my thoughts on this manga, well, it's great to see to come. Even though I've already finished reading the Rurouni Kenshin manga, that I borrowed volumes of them from the library, but coming back to reread the manga as a favorite, it just brings a lot of enjoyment and some expectation, encouragements as well, particularly of how I ever want to come by, because between the good parts of how I wanted to come by on how I've been explaining about the manga like Rurouni Kenshin, because this is all new for me, because I just wanted to come by for this one. My score for the manga, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. And then to this conclusion on here, because if you want to read a manga like this to reread as favorites, get it. I highly recommend if you have like this or in those Viz Big editions. But I'm just gonna have to go into my own little reading retrospective certain kind of thing though, because this is all I have what I come by for the manga like Rurouni Kenshin, because it's been long overdue for a review on the first volume of Rurouni Kenshin for the very first time, that I have never done one like this until now, because this is interesting. But then again, just considering how I have never done a manga review on Rurouni Kenshin, which is the original manga, although I did review the Rurouni Kenshin Restoration Volume 1, but this is the first time I wanted to review the original Rurouni Kenshin manga, which I've never done like this until now, that's why. But that's just besides the point, because I had to do a review of this. Like, I had to deal with reviewing volumes of certain manga series like Fushigi Yugi, Inuyasha, Urusei Yatsura, and Ranma 1/2 for a while, but because I had to do a manga review on volumes on there, especially how it continues, of how it develops, of how it's happening in the story as well. Because I had to start reviewing the Rurouni Kenshin manga that I've never done like this until now, that's why. So, that's going to be it for my manga review of Rurouni Kenshin for today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, especially if you're new to my channel. I've been literally getting into the Blu-ray now, from world cinema, Ralph Bakshi films from the 70s and 80s, Italian cinema from Ruggiero Deodato to Dario Argento, Terence Hill and Bud Spencer movies. And I'm also getting into merchandise from Vivzipop, you know, like from Hazbin Hotel to Hell of a Boss as well. And I'm also getting into collecting metal albums on vinyl records, you know, from, I believe probably from CD to vinyl records, because new wave of British heavy metal to Norwegian black metal, death metal, underground thrash metal, obscure thrash metal bands, obscure death metal bands, a lot of them as well. And I'm also getting into the discography of my favorite bands, from Kiss, AC/DC to Ghost as well, because I have been literally getting into the whole collecting albums on the whole discography in them as well. And I have a lot of different and also patches for my battle jacket as well, because I've been literally getting into the battle jacket update videos as well also. And be sure to, and I have a whole different collecting hobbies in the variety of it, not just collecting anime and manga and video games in general, and also gunplay in general also, if you can count that in. And I'm also, be sure to check out my anime planner analyst, because I'm getting Letterboxd. Smack the like button if you enjoyed the video. Hit the notifications bell button. Be sure to leave in your comments about what you think of the Rurouni Kenshin manga. Just let me know if you like as well. Keep it otaku for this review, because this is long overdue for a new video like this, because I had to do it, because I have been brainstorming ideas, that's why. This is Rurouni Kenshin K95 saying thanks for watching my video, and I'm glad you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you soon for the next video. Be sure to stay safe and stay healthy, and have a great day. This is Rurouni K95 saying ta-ta for now for this video. It's signing off, and thank you for watching my video. Stay tuned for more videos that I got on plan, for new ones that I have for what's in store here. And I will see you soon for more videos that I got on planned. Take care. Stay tuned for more. And we'll see you soon. Bye.